guys? My name is Brandon. Welcome to Audio Addiction, where you can find latest album reviews. You can find our band interviews, and you can find live coverage of the concerts that we get. I just posted Slave Set probably about a week ago, and I just posted Emerosa Set actually yesterday. So definitely check out those if you're interested. I will be posting like Tides of Man, that's more like post rock. So I'm excited for that. Silent Planet I'm seeing this weekend, and then we got a few other shows that I'm going to round out the rest of this month. Obviously, I just started, but awesome shows nonetheless. So if you enjoy what you heard, make sure to subscribe, make sure to hit that thumbs up. It really does go a long way, and thank you guys for your support. So tonight we're gonna be talking about Coldfront's new record, Float Around. So this band is fairly new, at least in my opinion and to my knowledge. They recently signed with Equal Vision Records, which is an amazing label if you haven't checked them out already. But I heard like a track or two off this record, and I thought that they had something interesting going. I feel like pop punk, just in general, has been kind of spiking in terms of the amount of bands that are coming out, the amount of bands that are putting out new music. So I always try to get onto the new stuff. So I felt like Colfront is actually on tour with Ghost Key, which I find like is a interesting combination considering that they're more like pop punk based and Ghost Key's more melodic hardcore. But nonetheless, that's a cool tour. I'm actually going to be missing out on that because I am going to see Devil Wears Prada. So, unfortunately, I can't go out to see that. But next time they come through, I'll definitely be looking around to see if they come near my area. But they released a new album today. Actually, the time that I'm recording it now, it's out today. So definitely go pick it up if you get a chance. If not, go stream it on Spotify and go help these guys out. So they are a pop punk band out of Canada. They have just an interesting way of going about their music. It has kind of, I would say, two vocalists, essentially, much like Seaway, much like Four Year Strong, much like those sorts of bands. So if you are a fan of them, I feel like you'll find a lot of interesting qualities, or at least similar qualities to those bands, to Coldfront. So I'm going to go through each track, give you my thoughts and opinions on it. I'm going to give some pros and cons on the record, and then I'm going to finish it out with an overall rating. So the first track is called So Typical. I believe this was the first single that they released. I could be wrong. I know they released a music video for Everything You Want Me to Be, and then they have it all up on stream on Equal Vision. But getting back to this track, it has that sort of typical nostalgic pop punk feeling to it, at least in my opinion. Really liking the duo vocals and just how they interplay with each other. I feel like they are really strong on this track, and a lot of these tracks off this record. I feel like they utilize it very well, and it's something that I love. I've always been a big fan of harmonies. For ever since I enjoyed listening to music, I feel like a lot of people like harmonies, so you'll definitely get your fix in terms of that. Again, it has that sort of nostalgic feel to it, very pop punk, as very almost like kind of old Simple Plan a little bit, which is really cool. I really enjoyed the chorus in this track. I feel like it's really catchy, and then the bridge definitely reminds me a lot of Four Year Strong, not in terms of just vocals, but just guitar wise. It feels very For Your Strong-esque, which is really cool. And I felt like this track was a good opener track, and it was just well rounded altogether. There wasn't really anything bad that I could say about it, but particularly it wasn't really ear catching to me either. So I'm kind of in that little middle area. I don't think it's a bad track, but I definitely feel like it's not one that really kind of got my attention. So we're gonna move into track number 2, which is Natalie. This one is one of my favorites. I really feel like this track has some really excellent and memorable melodies. Really enjoyed the switch up of vocals. Just they both have that sort of unique tonality, while kind of keeping it sort of similar as well. So I always have enjoyed that. But I feel like they utilized, again, the vocals really well on this track. And it's also good to hear some harmonization as well. I feel like there aren't too many bands. I know, like, more recently there have been bands that have been doing this, but I really enjoyed that. I feel like that should be kind of the, I wouldn't say it's the next norm, but I would certainly like to hear a lot more of that. I also feel like the chorus is one of my favorites off the record. I feel like they have written so far, written some really great choruses, but this one in particular is a favorite of mine, and I feel like they will continue to write really great choruses throughout the course of this record. In my opinion, the instrumentals definitely give me that sort of state champs vibe to it as well. Just kind of maybe a little bit in the slower down sort of version. It kind of has that sort of state champs vibe, but just a bit slower. I also like that they add a little bit of grit to their vocals. I feel like it adds a bit of diversity to the track, and just is a nice kind of interplay between the two vocalists. If one has kind of a grittier tone or uses a grittier tone, it matches very well with the next vocalist, and he does a little bit more kind of more clean stuff. So I definitely appreciate that. So we're gonna move into track number 3, which is "Everything You Want Me to Be." This one is probably the most recent single outside of just the whole album working out, but this one is also a favorite of mine. It just immediately gets you. It's super catchy, and it just has this bounce and just sort of great pop punk vibe to it. I hearken it very much to Seaway's kind of tracks. It has that sort of just memorability to it, and just as an all around just fun track to listen to. The guitar riffs on this track are some of my favorites off the record in particular. Also vocally, it is one of my favorites too. I just like how they interplay with each other, the harmony, the grit, and just the memorable melodies that they're able to create in this track. I feel like it's one that I'll definitely be going back to, and it may be one of my favorite kind of pop punk tracks of this year. It just has that, it just has a great sort of like pop punk vibe, and if you guys have listened to it, you know what I mean. It also kind of reminds me a lot of Grayscale on Fearless Records too. Really great track. I think it's one of the best tracks, if not the best track off the record, in my opinion. I just feel like it has some great vibes to it, and it just makes you super happy. So I mean, I really can't complain with that one. So we're gonna move into track number 4, which is "It Hits Me." This one, I'm really digging the instrumentals a lot in this track. I feel like they were a bit of a switch up in comparison to, a lot of these other tracks that I have been talking about just now. They just have this really great swing to them, and I really feel like they have really great sort of memorable instrumentals as well. I feel like each track doesn't feel like a copy of another track off the record so far. So I like that they keep it diverse, they're keeping it interesting as well. And then speaking about interesting, I feel like the vocals are really interesting as well on this one. And I feel like it makes the track appealing. It just has this different sort of approach vocally, which I thought was really solid. So we're gonna move into track number 5, which is "Shut Eyes." This one I feel like is the black sheep of the record. It feels very different, especially from the rest of the tracks, either that predated it or even the tracks after this one. It just has this sort of different vibe to it, but I still think it's cool. It has that sort of more, I would say, on the more alternative side of music, which I appreciate. Instrumentals have that sort of transit quality to them, which is one of my favorite bands. If you are unfamiliar with this channel, so I really enjoyed that about this song, and definitely harken back to those transit days, in my opinion. I feel like it's a nice breakup for diversity's sake. Again, a lot of these tracks, I wouldn't say they sound familiar, but they had this sort of familiarity to them. But they also have some interesting qualities that wouldn't you wouldn't mistake one track for the other, which is always great. But this one is just completely left field, which I appreciate. And also, I feel like the harmonies really kind of draw this song together, in my opinion. I feel like if it was out of the track, it would be a little bit odd. I still think it would be kind of on that transit side, which is, in my opinion, a great thing. And I really thought this one was a great track overall. It just had a bit of a different quality than the previous track. So we're gonna move into track number 6, which is "Slip." Really loving the intro and just that chord progression. It's very kind of like happy, like melodic, sort of openy, guitar chord wise, and I just really enjoyed that one. I feel like the track is definitely centered around a really great chorus that I find catchy and just memorable altogether. But I feel like the slip up in this track, no pun intended, is kind of the verses. They don't have that sort of pizzazz, and I feel like they're kind of weak in comparison. When you're listening to the chorus, you're like, man, I love this chorus. This goes great. But the verses just didn't lack that sort of punch that I was expecting, or I've gave it the benefit of the doubt. I thought the first verse was like, oh, maybe they're just kind of trying to get you into the track, and then they'll maybe kind of pick it up afterwards. It got through the chorus, and then I thought the second verse was definitely going to be more of a pick me up, and it didn't really translate very well in my opinion. I thought the bridge was really cool. It was a nice kind of breakup with that guitar solo in it as well. I thought vocally it was very nice too, but just in my opinion, the verses kind of made this track fall a little bit short than to be one of my favorite tracks on in the entire record. It just has this sort of, it has great choruses, but it's just lacking in the verses. And I feel like if they kind of put a little bit more flair into the verses, this would definitely be in the top contender for my favorite off the record. So we're gonna move into track number 7, which is "Float Around." This one is one of my favorites. It's actually the title track as well. Liking the different change in the intro. This one's a bit softer, and then it kind of picks up, I would say, after the chorus. A really great chorus as well too. Really liking this sort of emotional attachment and feelings that you get in this one. And then I feel like again it picks up speed after that first chorus, and then it gets really kind of rhythmic-y and just groovy in my opinion. And then vocally I feel like it's really great as well. I love the just the position between the two vocalists. I feel like they mesh very well in certain parts with the harmonies, but they also really have this great quality of being diverse amongst the two vocalists. So really enjoyed that, and just some really great memorable melodies in this one as well. And I would definitely say those are the characteristics of why this one is one of the best tracks off the record. So we're gonna move into track number 8, which is "Spit Me Out." This one, I'm just gonna say, by far best track off the record, hands down, no contenders. This one is the primo track off the record. I like that it has a bit of aggression. It has that bite to it that I was looking for in this record. I was kind of waiting slash missing sort of track like this. They kind of were going in that sort of pop punk direction, and they went in that sort of alternative direction. So I was waiting for like kind of a more rock track, and this one definitely hit those notes in my opinion. The melodies are just catchy, and they just have this really great memorability to it that is like no other track off this record. And I wouldn't mind if they went kind of heavier, which they did on this one. And I just feel like this one has all of the qualities that I was looking for in this record. It has some really great punch to it. The harmonies are on point. And just the instrumentals are really great. The gritty, they got some aggression to them. Vocally, it's pretty diverse as well. There's some harmonies, there's some gritty vocals, there's some really nice cleans as well. Drums were great, bass was awesome as well, and it's definitely a standout track off this record. It is kind of a little bit different as well, but I do appreciate the diversity in this track. I feel like they kind of hit a home run on this one, and I would highly recommend checking out this one. So we're going to move into track number 9, which is "Blame Me." This one is another favorite of mine as well. Liking the trade-off of vocals. I know that I've been mentioning it a lot, but they just have this quality of how they switch, how their vocals mesh, how they sound solo, and they just work in tandem together. They just have this really great harmony together, and it just works. I feel like they kind of cracked the formula on how to put in some really great harmonies, some really great vocals, some really great dual vocals, and they really know how to separate themselves as well. So I think that's the real defining characteristic of this band, is that their vocals are absolutely on point in my opinion. This one is another really damn catchy track in my opinion. The melody will absolutely get stuck in your head. I know it did for me. I'm really liking the bridge a lot too. Just having the two vocals go at the same time. One has this sort of reverby, sort of distant-y sort of sound, and the other one just kind of is, at the forefront. And they just have this sort of characteristic where they mesh very well. And while this track is a little bit on the shorter side, I think it's like not much more than 2 minutes. And it's definitely a short but sweet track in my opinion. So we're gonna move into the last track, track number 10, which is Polly. This one has an interesting intro and then kind of the acoustic guitars kick in. I always enjoy kind of a good stripped back track in my opinion. It really kind of gives you an idea on how the musicianship is pointed out and just how it works very well in my opinion. There's really nice bits of clean lead guitar parts in the track to add this bit of like layering and texture to I wouldn't say a bland track, but just kind of a basic sort of track. It's really nice to hear that. Vocally, I feel like the track's solid. There isn't much going on. There isn't something like super crazy like, and Spit Me Out. They really kind of kept to a traditional formula, and I feel like it worked out. I feel like it's always a good way to end off a record. I feel like maybe it would have been better if they put it towards the middle, but placing is placing, and that's where they decided to put it. But overall, I think it's a solid effort from Coldfront from going from not knowing too much about this band to really enjoying and delving into this record. I thought they did an excellent job of that. So some pros that I have about this record: harmonies, great vocals. I feel like that is a really strong suit of this band. Instrumentally, it was pretty diverse. There was anything from like really sort of rock tracks to kind of like alternative indie sort of track to pop punky sort of tracks. So I feel like there's a great mix, much like the Neck Deep record. I feel like there is a great bit of diversity throughout, and I feel like it makes for an interesting listen. When you're going through the tracks, instrumentally, I feel like it's solid too. Not speaking about just the diversity, just how the instruments are played: guitar, bass, drums. I feel like there isn't a lot going on, but I feel like there is a lot of solid qualities about how they write, how they fit in the vocals. Everything just in tandem works very well. Some cons that I have: there are some tracks that kind of don't quite get me, and maybe it's just I have to go through a little bit more listens. But overall, I feel like there were some really strong tracks, and there were some weaker tracks, but I feel like you're not gonna have an album that is all great. There's gonna be some tracks that are not, that people won't like, or that tracks that are kind of more traditional. And I feel like there were some tracks that were more traditional, like the last one, Polly was a very traditional sort of acoustic track. But then there's some really good tracks like Spit Me Out, which I was not expecting when I was getting into this record. So I feel like there is some great qualities about this band. I feel like they're definitely a band you should go out and support if you do like it. And so I'm going to end this off with a rating. My overall rating for Coldfront, Float Around, I'm going to be giving it a 9.1 out of 10. I definitely feel like it's a band you should go listen to. The album's out now, of course, like I've been mentioning, but it's also up on YouTube. It's on Spotify, I'm sure. So I would suggest streaming it. Go listen to it on YouTube, and then come back with your thoughts. I'd love to kind of get an idea of what you guys think about this band. I feel like they have really strong qualities about them. I definitely feel like they're a band that could be an up-and-coming band. Absolutely. They have some really great harmonies. I love the dual vocal aspect of their band, and I feel like instrumentally it could be a little bit more pizzazzy, but overall, I like, obviously I wouldn't do this review if I didn't find some really great qualities about this band. So I definitely feel like you should go check out Coldfront. If you can, go check them out on tour with Ghost Key. I'm sure they greatly appreciate it. But definitely go check this record out if you are a fan of pop punk. I would say 4 Year Strong, State Champs, and maybe like Seaway. I would say probably those three kind of encompass their sound and really give you an idea of what you're expecting from this band. So if you enjoyed this review, make sure to subscribe, make sure to hit that thumbs up. I'm going to be doing 1,000 Below today as well. I hope to get that out as soon as possible. I'm actually going to see them, which I'm really stoked to see them too. And I'm gonna be doing Cold Rain's new record too. That one's gonna be out hopefully soon as well. And I got a really awesome review to come out super soon, and I'm excited that I got it early. So hopefully you guys are hyped for it as well. And thank you for watching this review. I hope to eventually see Coldfront, and I will be definitely picking this record up to add to my wall of CDs. So thank you guys for watching. My name is Brandon. We hope you got your fix, and we'll be talking with you soon. Peace. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Of course, if you enjoy what we do, make sure to go check out the other series we do. We do album reviews, we do band interviews, and we do live videos, so definitely go check that out. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps our channel, helps us grow. Make sure to hit that like button as well. Go follow us on social media. That's all down below. We try to keep that as updated as possible. We also made a new website where we'll be posting photos of upcoming concerts and stuff like that, which you can go check out at audioaddictionmedia.com and come get your fix with us, guys. Talk to you later. Deuces.